Good afternoon, and welcome to Nonprofit Strategic Partnerships, Shared Services, an opportunity to look at both cost savings and capacity building during uncertain funding times. Hello, my name is Eric Speakman. I've been honored to help facilitate impact with nonprofits since 1996, and have specialized in strategic partnerships in 2001. Why is now a great time for nonprofits to look at strategic partnerships? Because essentially, now and for the next several years, the sector will have to try to serve more need with less money. Less funding from a combination of the end of the stimulus funding, along with the actions of the current administration in terms of its policy and cuts in funding, and more need. We're seeing a lot more need in food banks and homeless providers, and we think with the cut in federal funding will result in more with greater need. Also, and at the same time that funding is down, costs for professional services for nonprofits have increased far more than inflation. For example, in Atlanta, the average cost for strategic planning for a nonprofit of around $2 million has increased from around $12,000 in 2000 to around $25,000, as well as increases of not that same amount in other services like IT, HR, audits, accounting. What is a strategic partnership? It is an ongoing relationship involving two or more organizations to increase the administrative efficiency or further the mission impact through shared, transferred, or combined resources, services, and programs. As you can see from this chart, there is a plethora of opportunities going from the outer ring of collaboration in coalition, where people from different organizations or different functions in the same organizations work to produce results through joint effort, resources, decision-making, and ownership of the results. The next circle, the blue one, is a strategic alliance. This is a partnership which involves change in operations, programs, decision-making, or all, but not governance. And then in the middle, consolidation or merger. This is a partnership which involves change in operations, programs, decision-making, and which ultimately results in consolidation at the corporate level, thus changing in governance and control. What we are focusing on today is an administrative consolidation, otherwise known as shared services. You can see that is an alliance. The reason that we're recommending this is because in the past, organizations, partners went to a management service organization, which requires a lot more time, energy, and resources. So we are recommending looking at a strategic alliance, an administrative consolidation / shared services at this point. Maybe down the road, you would pursue a more robust partnership, a management service organization or a consolidation, but first start with an alliance. I've had lots of conversations in the last 18 months with over 15, 20 consultants and other experts with great experience in strategic partnerships. And we were collectively confused that why during this nonprofit fiscal cliff, why more organizations were not exploring strategic partnerships. I had a wise mentor of mine who said it's basically two reasons. One is with the stimulus funding, organizations were focused on spending that money, making greater impact. So less time for collaboration at the level that we had before that. And now with so many fighting for survivability, like somebody experiencing homelessness, it's hard to partner. It's hard to find time for things such as that when you're focused on keeping the doors open. So with this reluctance, we are recommending shared services. From our other observations that we've collectively noted is that organizations are more open to exploring partnerships they have in the past. In the past, most of these conversations were started by two CEOs, the partnering CEOs. Now we're finding more conversations being initiated by board members. Partners are exploring more shared services and more consolidation mergers than in the past. We are seeing a big differences in the sense of urgency and timing among partners. One's wanting to move faster than the partners. And usually it's the organization that's more challenged financially, seeing this as a solution, a strategy, and wanting to rush things, which often leads to their partner wanting to step back, like a relationship. We're seeing board members much more financially risk adverse than we have in the past, not wanting any debt or any other financial challenges in their partners. An example of this, we were exploring a consolidation of two organizations, one with a balance sheet of that would be impressive for most organizations. However, they had to take a short-term loan, still a very small percentage of their overall assets, and the revenue had dipped from changes in Medicaid. And the partner, even with a good balance sheet and prospects of increased revenue, did not want to take on that financial challenge. We find that the organizations that are financially challenged right now are making it the negotiations more challenging, that they become more defensive in the negotiation, which is completely understandable with their current situation. When we first started doing this work, funders wanted to see cost savings, and then they switched to wanting to have greater outcomes, like 1 + 1 = 3 in terms of outcomes. With the current financial crisis, we are seeing funders interested in both right now. So with more organizations interested in strategic partnerships, but the negotiation process being more challenging than normal, what do we recommend? What's the Oracle of the Delphi say? Know thyself. We think that that's the first thing to do. Conduct a rigorous SWOT analysis. And in the SWOT analysis, we'd like you to do analyze your programs via mission and margin, where they are right now, and what you think what you want them to be in the future. And do a competitor review, a competitor analysis. Determine what you do uniquely different, your strengths, your core competency, your competitive advantage, compared to what other organizations that funders and clients see as competitors. Make sure that you've got strong internal consensus on the key desired outcomes of the partnership, partner criteria, what you're looking for, what your concerns and challenges are, and if you don't partner, how are you going to address those areas needing improvement within your organization? Select potential partners based on your partnership criteria that you have established with your leadership. Then clearly communicate to them your desired partnership outcomes and both your strengths, your competitive advantage, but also those areas that you're working to improve upon. Collaborate with your partners to agree on the desired outcomes. Then choose the most appropriate partnership option. I want to say this one more time, that outcomes should dictate the partnership option and structure, not the other way. And no matter if both organizations are not equal in size, we highly recommend that you ensure negotiations are equal. Both feel like they're equal. And also remember, this is not a for-profit. This is not equity that you have that can be shared among your stakeholders, your assets are truly community assets, not for profit equity shares. When to consider a shared services strategic partnership? When two or more of these conditions are true: capacity strained, staff bandwidth consistently insufficient, having a hard time retaining good staff, key functions are underperforming, that you are constrained by their lack of capacity to be able to grow your impact. Cost pressure, rising overhead or inability to be able to hire the specialized talent you need or the capacity you need to be able to grow impact. Funder signals. Your funders are encouraging but not requiring collaboration, shared infrastructure, or joint reporting. Large technology gaps. Your CRM, data, or IT systems are outdated, or you just can't afford them, or you just don't feel you have the ability and knowledge and skills to be able to leverage AI. I totally get it. Duplication, multiple organizations performing similar services as well as similar back office functions, and all of them saying they're not doing it well. And then last, strategic alignment, a mission, adjacency, shared population served, and or shared values. What are the trends that we're seeing in shared services? One is the most common services are HR, accounting / finance / audit, administration or basic ops support, IT and technology, and training and development, in that order. That we have moved from, oh, it's be nice to have this partnership, be nice to reduce the cost of our admin, to survival. That for them to succeed, you have to have a strong, solid foundation. And that includes trust and open communication and transparency. Start small, including starting with an MOU with clear KPIs or outcomes instead of an MSO. And don't start with fundraising. We always find that requires a lot of trust to be able to share your major donors. Governance. Start with a partnership committee with equal number from each partners, but not creating a separate board that has to be maintained. Mutually beneficial value exchange. Move from a transaction orientation, we buy a service, to collaborative mindset. We build a shared solution. That includes clear goals, defined roles, shared leadership models, transparent communication practices, and formal agreements outlining responsibilities, benefits, and desired outcomes. No matter which strategic partnership option that you select, we highly recommend you go through all 4 phases. Phase 1, assessment and a feasibility assessment to see if the partnership could be successful. Phase 2, negotiating a partnership, which is essentially a strategic plan for the partnership and an agreement on how it will be operated. Phase 3, a detailed plan for restructuring, which includes task forces for successful implementation and integration. And phase 4, successful implementation via these task forces, and also look at addressing any cultural differences. Phase 1, situation analysis and feasibility assessment. We highly recommend that you take your time and do this right. Because from our experience, if you do, the remaining phases are more timely, more efficient, and more successful. Hopefully, you both organizations have already done a SWOT analysis and are ready to communicate their key strengths and areas they wish to improve upon. During this phase, create a partnership task force of equal number of board and staff members that will go through all stages of the strategic partnership process. In step one, we want to get to know each other well. It's sort of like dating. Get to learn everything about everyone before you decide if you'd like to live together or get married. This includes some initial due diligence, including looking at each book's, learning more about the programs and services, and beginning to seek feedback from key stakeholders, especially staff, funders, board, and those you serve. The partnership assessment, step 2. Do you meet the criteria for a successful partnership? Do you know your partner well? We'll go into this in a little bit more detail. The end of phase 1 is a letter of intent that should collectively summarize the desired outcomes of the partnership, the preferred structure you want to explore, the key issues or challenges that need to be addressed during the planning process, and agree to a good faith negotiation in the remaining steps and signing a confidentiality agreement. During phase 1, we need both partners to honestly answer yes to each of these decisions. If no response for any of these from either partner, do not move forward. Step back. First, are you motivated to address issues to enhance mission and impact? Next, is there consensus, both internally and among your partners, on clear, specific desired outcomes? Next, do you meet the internal success factors? And lastly, do you have the time and resources to undergo a strategic partnership process? Even if well facilitated, they do take time and resources. From our experience, these are the key internal success factors. They don't guarantee success, but if you do not have these factors, we found it becomes much more challenging. Do you have staff and board member serving as champions for the process? Definitely need it from the CEO and from the board. Do you have past positive collaboration experiences in general and also with this partner? Do you have full board support and encouragement? You're an organization that takes appropriate risk, that you have a growth orientation. You want to do more than status quo. And lastly, a positive board ED relationship. Partner assessment should take place in 2 parts. First, once you've determined internal consensus and you know your desired outcomes, the strengths you bring to the table, the areas that you like to be improved upon, and the criteria, look at those organizations that are perceived to be competitors or upstream or downstream of the continuum of care of services for your organization. Once you've identified a few key partners that have great potential, reach out to them. Tell them that even though your organization is doing well, that you desire to have greater impact and that you're looking to get into a strategic partnership that achieves the desired vision and outcomes that you have, what you bring to the table, and what you like to work on improving with your partner. And then when together, when you've selected that one to proceed forward, evaluate past experiences, the degree of trust, and look for complementary partner strengths and weaknesses. A great partnership works together to either the partner brings strengths to address your areas needing improvement, or you two together collectively can better address them. Stakeholder engagement and support is critical for successful strategic partnership. You have to build these concentric circles, and we highly recommend not going out to that next outer circle until you have strong consensus with that current, starting with the EDs and CEOs, and then a few key board members, board staff and funders, volunteers and those served, and then any other external stakeholders. I'm going to go quickly through the remaining slides because we'll have more detail in subsequent videos. Phase 2, negotiate a partnership. Step 4, complete due diligence for all partners. Go into much deeper due diligence. We highly recommend having treasurers examine the books of both organizations and look at possibly having a third-party accountant take a look at the books. Also engage lawyers if you haven't already to look at the complete comprehensive legal due diligence. Your partnership task force will negotiate those issues and challenges that need to have some resolution in shaping and drafting that partnership plan and agreement we talked about. Step 6 is then going back and socializing the partnership plan, recommendations for moving forward with all of your key stakeholders, closing the loop from when you engage them in phase 1. And then last, step 7, is that you develop a formal partnership plan and agreement that are ratified by both boards. After doing this work for over 25 years, we find some common reoccurring issues, challenges, and themes. And they all kind of boil down to loss of control, job, and/or prestige. The top one is always who's in charge, who makes the decisions, what programs will continue, both partners wanting both of their programs to not drastically change. Are any jobs lost? How do we maintain our brand? Now, in shared services, these issues aren't as prevalent and is not as serious, but there are those control issues. And so we recommend creating that partnership committee that includes the decision maker from each partner that will collectively make a decision moving forward. Some of the most common partnership mistakes we've observed is starting the process and moving into formal negotiations without board approval and/or consensus, internal consensus, especially with clarity of purpose and outcomes. Not acting like equals, one organization taking a superior attitude and approach. This will always slow down the process and most often will derail it. Withholding information from your partners. You know, it's like getting married. You eventually learn everything. You might as well get it up front. Breaking the confidentiality agreement. Adding members to the partnership task force after the process has started. Trying to find that balance between too much time or not enough time. Not properly engaging key stakeholders, especially staff. Not keeping the board and other key stakeholders updated and trying to do it on your own. We recommend engaging a third-party neutral with experience in this work. Thank you for your time today. If you are seriously considering any strategic partnership, including shared services, either give me an email or you can just dial me directly at 404-936-1211. I'm always happy to talk several hours to see the feasibility, all pro bono at that time. Thanks and have a great day.